Hey, it is your buddy Peace and Harmony with you here today. And we're zooming in and focusing in on a very common question and a very unfortunate experience that we get in here. And that is really, how do you handle the triangulation? How do you handle a smear campaign? How do you handle the gaslighting, the twisting and turning of events in the air of or in the direction of the narcissist or psychopath? In other words, what do you do when you are being emotionally manipulated by somebody who is using tools such as distortion of reality, violation of boundaries, violation of social norms to influence you, to manipulate you, to get you to break down your thought pattern, to get you to break down your emotional resiliency and positive orderly direction of thinking and feeling and behaving? When do they really when they turn against you? Some people call it the devaluation and discard phase. But one thing you have to be sure of is that when you are in a relationship with a emotionally manipulative person who has a personality disorder, someone who will resort to triangulation, which means they're going to pivot and turn other people against, they're going to pit other people against each other. In other words, they're going to try to use the social engineering of belonging and connection and use that as a stimulus or a leverage to get you to feel inadequate, less than, paranoid. And this is known as triangulation. It's kind of what you feel that is a lie behind your back. It's something you begin to have growing suspicion to. You see a number of emails or threats going inadvertently where basically you're being pivoted against another. And then that is used to triangulation. In other words, it's, I'm going to replace you with so-and-so. Let's see if you can jump the bar. Let's see if you can match them. So it's in order to manipulate you to feed them more supply, give them more of whatever it is that they're wanting. Time, attention, money, clout in the relationship, whatever it is that they're looking for. A dinner ticket, a plane ticket, paying their rent, paying their bill, paying their light bill, taking care of their children, taking care of their medical bills. There's going to be something at the end result of this emotional manipulation through the leverage of triangulation. And even worse than that is the smear campaign, otherwise known as blackmailing. What does this entail? What do these people resort to? When we talk about a smear campaign, and furthermore, which can lead to things like blackmailing and stalking behavior, and then the why behind it, it is when these people will make up a pathological lie, which has nothing to do with reality, but is intended to distract you and distort your feeling of self-reliance and self-belief. In other words, to fear that your reputation is going to be ruined. They're going to go after your family, your close relationships. They're going to try to violate these natural boundaries and these standards and say, if you don't do this, then. Or you might find them showing up at your doorstep, at your patio, marking your car, sending you email links, putting provocative pictures on Facebook, which are planted and designed to throw you off. In other words, they're kind of thinking in a very obscure or perverted, distorted manner. In other words, knowing that you're going to check Facebook, they're going to put this. Knowing that you're going to check their desk, they're going to put that. Knowing that you're going to check your email, they might mistakenly, send an email to you where they have information and it gets you to respond. And then they're, doing these cryptic messages. They might, be leaving strange things around that get you to think, like receipts that are out, lipstick stains, fluid stains, other things that make you think, what is going on? Things to be a little bit off. The bed is ruffled. The papers are ruffled. things that are a little bit distorted or off in your environment that they plant to get you to be distracted, and then furthermore succumb not only to their attention, but then making behaviors that then follow up with them and then get you to launch off into a tirade of confrontation and dissolving your sense of security and safety. This is known as the smear campaign, blackmailing, and the triangulation. It can be all wrapped up into one, but number one, it's definitely a tool that they use to get you to cave in and distort your sense of reality. And it gets you, when people are really caved into it, they begin to really lose track of their inherent values. So your value of your family, your value of your job, your value of your workout, the value of your eating right, the value of your sleeping right, the value of your finances, your accounts, your decision-making process, the things that you love to do. You might love to bike, travel. All of a sudden, you're letting go of these things because of the fear, because they're putting in basically a new set of values within you through this fear mechanism. Excuse me. And the why behind it. And you'd say, why would somebody do this? Why would they resort to that? Why would they cause this rippling of pain? Why would they try to do these sort of cryptic situations? Well, realize that someone who is narcissistic and psychopathic, particularly those on the realm of the psychopathic, they're, they will, they have no conscience. So in other words, they will do things that ordinary people would feel fearful of, i.e., breaking the law, breaking social norms, breaking boundaries. In other words, going there, going to places, calling people's workplaces, threatening to expose you to your family, threaten to, do such and such to your vehicle, do this and this to your children, tell people this and this, using all these sort of tactics, the stalking behavior where they're always around, they're driving by your place, they're driving by your work, they're showing up, they're walking by your door when they shouldn't be. I mean, they are, not supposed to be there. But they will do this because the psychopath, oftentimes, when they get to this stage, they really have no sense of attachment to people. They really, they don't care if they're getting money from A or from B or from C or from D, as long as they're getting the money, the love, the sex, the food, the attention, whoever they see that they're manipulating, that is their way of quote unquote being connected. They're not really connected to others. They're very disconnected. They're very, they don't have emotions that keep people together. In other words, the ties that bond, the emotions that are shared, they think is like, why would you guys get caught up on that? Why would you guys, it's so stupid. They feel so much of life is unnecessary, with that respect. So people who have built businesses, built families, built homes, built bank accounts, built plans for their future, they're going to go after this because they ultimately know that if you're afraid, if you're fearful, if you're getting in, then they have quote unquote won, and they're quote unquote, where they want to be. It is very unfortunate, but these individuals, have a excess of dopamine, which is the pleasure neurochemical, and they're hypersensitive to it. So when they want to go after something, they're going to go after it. They, whereas people are natural, they might have a more steady dopamine effect when you're going after something. So whatever it is that you're trying to build, or if you're pursuing a hobby or a movie, your pleasure chemicals are going. They have a hypersensitivity to this dopamine, so they're going for it, but and then they have a low testosterone, and the amygdala, the processing of judgment and fear is inactive. So it's like they have no empathy. They that is empty, depleted, and then they have something that they want to go after. So it's like the dynamic of those two promulgates them or launches them into this sort of behavior where they're going after, they just want to cause pain. It's like, the kids who, early in their life who hurt animals and get a pleasure out of torturing animals. It's kind of like the same thing. They have a pleasure with torturing people, seeing others in pain. They think it's funny, hilarious, they're entertained by it. They have a pleasure from it. It is sadistic in nature. Whatever you want to call it, label it, it is what it is. And so that is kind of the why behind. And they will do this, even though there's no connection, there's no relationship. It gives them a sense of pleasure with doing this. And unfortunately, if you have been targeted by that, this person is going after you, making threats to call your house, your home, your family, your workplace. You need to understand that, that they're just launching after this and they're projecting onto that which they feel is the source of their pain or, inadequacy within their thought process. So, the number one thing is to go no contact. I mean, just be completely indifferent. Don't let it sway you one way or another, because what they're going for is, you're going to give in to their demands. You're going to give them the attention. You're going to disturb your sleep. You're going to disturb your relationships, whatever it is. And then they will, just leave this path in the wake of their relationships, basically. And so, you can realize that, people oftentimes doubt themselves and, am I leaving behind a good woman? Am I leaving behind a good man? The relationship was great. This was great. They're feeling like, well, maybe it's just me. Maybe I should give in. And then you're, doubting yourself when realistically, when you see what they are capable of, it's like, okay, maybe not. So you need to go no contact, get everything, out of your phone, your house, your email, your Facebook, kind of like your memory bank. You have to, kind of go, okay, that was my lesson learned. I have discovered that there's this and this type of person out there. And oftentimes you have to look at why you dragged the cat in to begin with. Why did you bring this person into your life? And look where it is now. And did you get what you wanted? Or was this, not healthy, not going to be a good choice for you? Was there an error of judgment? If you need to do, make that assessment and go, okay, there's a lot of covering up that I did. There was a lot of refuting of reality, or, I was then, going into a tangent in my life, a detour, if you will. And it is what it is. It was what it was. And let's just seal that chapter. Let's not go back. But what do I do now? You don't give them the money. You don't give them, when they come to your door, you don't answer. When they call the phone, you don't pick up. When they text, you don't respond. When they post on email, you don't follow. You just go no contact, and you adopt an air of neutrality, which means you're not fearful, you're not excited. It just is, because that is just, they're just kind of in their own web of activity, and it's just their brain, going off. And if some people have had to move. Some people have had to change their address, change their phone number, change their social security number. They have had to change the locks. Whatever it is that you need to do to regain your sense of safety and stability, go ahead and make the changes. Don't allow for weeks, months, and years to drag on while you're fearful of this person, because eventually they're just going to pursue another target and do the same thing. And then therefore, you don't really need to be jealous of the torture, because the next person is going to be receiving the same haranguing and blackmail techniques. And they do it because of the neurochemicals in their brain, which have a sensitivity to dopamine, which is the pleasure chemical for them. That is firing off. They have a low, oftentimes either high testosterone or inactivity in their amygdala, which is the, moral center, the fear center, and they're not, operating by judgment. They're not operating by I better not do that. They're not fearful of the consequences. They feel that they can maneuver above it. So yes, it is very common, particularly in the psychopathy, those individuals who present with psychopathic behaviors. And if you have been in a relationship with someone who has violated your boundaries and not just like pushed you out of your comfort zone, oh, we're spontaneous and fun and free. I'm talking about, really, hyper aroused you to the point where, you're doing things that you are really not comfortable with and is amoral, against the law, against your moral character. And it's not, in the sake of fun, but it became, too much. And then this person is again and again and again, it's time to draw the boundaries, raise your standard of living, and just, go no contact. Contact local authorities. If you're, being stalked, then contact the authorities, contact the police. Let them know, I have this person making such and such threats. I just want to make you aware of it. And, people, should I tell them this? Should you engage with them? Absolutely not. This is not something that you, go back and forth and, I'm going to call the police and I'm going to do that. You're just engaging. You need to cut off any communication whatsoever and just let it go. If they show up, guess what? The police is going to be called and you've got a squad car, following up right behind them. Do you understand, what you need to do? You need to think clear, be decisive, take action, protect yourself, and eventually the stalking will stop. Your thoughts will become more clear and focused, and you will survive, and come through that sort of smear campaign. But it is absolutely a tool that these types of individuals will use to torture, torment, and make you afraid. Don't give in. It is your buddy, Peace and Harmony, with you here today. I hope these videos do help. Please share and please subscribe for more great tools, videos, discussion, and support.